Hi, it's Ian Greig here again. I'm talking this week about the New Covenant. This video will give you a good overview on why every Christian, or for that matter every churchgoer, should get excited about it. And it comes out of the set Bible readings for March the 21st. Under the Old Covenant, you had to belong to one of the 12 tribes of Israel, and you had protection but as a person of his possession. But there were an awful lot of things to learn and to obey. You had to make regular sacrifices for sin. And if the priest judged you righteous, he would be your, as it were, customer service rep for God, but you wouldn't get to talk to God yourself. The early church had no ministry in terms of having priests. The temple was destroyed, and the temple curtain was actually torn at the time of the crucifixion. The Holy of Holies was opened up. We learn from Ephesians that the early church ministries were apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers. There's no mention anywhere in the New Testament of an order of priests. And in all the teaching about spiritual gifts, there is no spiritual gift in the Bible of being a priest. In Hebrews, we learn that there is one unique mediator, Jesus. He is the high priest in the heavenlies. And actually, all of us who are born-again believers are part of a new tribe of priests, in the sense of it's our job to tell others about him, and it's our job to bring others to him, particularly in intercessory prayer. The Bible talks about the living stone, that's Jesus, and the living stones, which is us. Let's read from the Bible now. As you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. That's 1 Peter 2, verses 4 and 5. The risen Jesus is the sole and unique mediator between any of us and God. In Hebrews 5, which is one of the readings we have this week, I'll just read a verse. And he says in another place, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Once made perfect, he, that is Jesus, became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him, and was designated by God to be high priest in the order of Melchizedek. Hebrews 5, verses 6, 9, and 10. The new covenant is what happens when we are born again. Jeremiah saw this eternal salvation. He saw new life, new relationship. His words actually tell us what happens when we trust Jesus, when we become born again. And again, I'll read from the Bible from Jeremiah 31. This is the covenant that I will make with the people of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. They will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, for I will remember their sins no more. Jeremiah 31 and verses 33 and 34, I've abbreviated them a little bit. The new covenant in Jesus' death came by his death on the cross, which was absolutely, unbelievably agonizing. But if that wasn't bad enough, it was also shameful. And this awful death brought us life and showed both him and the Father to be glorious. A little bit difficult for us to get our heads around that, but the Bible may help us here. Let me read a couple of verses from John 12. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. John 12, 23, 24, and verse 32. Jesus said this on the third occasion when God's audible voice was heard. And he clearly explains here that his glory is going to be seen in what would happen. So although the prospect of what he went into was unbelievably difficult, he had the capacity to see beyond that and see what it would achieve and see the end result. So he could see his glory happening. The new covenant makes the old covenant obsolete. Now, it's not just me saying that, there's the Bible that says that. The former covenant and the worship through priests is superseded. And again, I just read a verse from the Bible. This is Hebrews 8 and verse 13. By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete. And what is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear. But in fact, the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant of which he is the mediator is superior to the old one, since the new covenant is established on better promises. So I've read Hebrews 8:13 and then Hebrews 8:6, altered the order slightly, that helps us to grasp it. So the new covenant is a covenant of fellowship. Originally, man was created for fellowship with God. And Jesus wants us to know that we are fully accepted not through anything we do, but accepted through him. And that's what he died for. And so this all occurred for us through Jesus, who is now ruling and reigning in heavenly glory. What was lost at the Garden of Eden has now in him been regained. That's fellowship between God and us and God. It's been restored. And a verse to close, again from Jeremiah, which is where we started. As Jeremiah prophesied all those years ago, they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. The new covenant is exciting.